So you want to be aesthetic, eh? Maybe you have a dream of achieving a physique like Baki Hanma or maybe Giga Chad. But this was me when I was 17 at 128 pounds, super scrawny, shy, skinny boy. I couldn't even do a push-up, I remember back then, and I probably didn't even have an ounce of testosterone in my body. Fast forward 10 months later, this was me when I was 18, 175 pounds. A confident, disciplined, well-oiled machine, ready to conquer the world. I want you guys to buckle up because I'm taking you all the way back to 2018 when this all happened. All right, before we get into today's video, guys, I linked the exact program that I followed down below, but I highly recommend you guys to watch this entire video like through and through so you get a good overview and understanding of what the program is, how it's supposed to be run like, and then you can go back and follow along the workouts. All right, so in this video, I'm going to be telling you guys exactly what the title says, and that is how I got my dream physique in less than a year as a brown boy. We see this young man, skinny and introverted, walk into a crowded gym. He scans the room and sees these confident, muscular individuals, and instantly doubt fills his mind. And he whispers to himself, can I do this? Am I really gonna fit in over here? I'm going to look like an idiot just doing my exercises. Now, these are all voices and thoughts that we all face when we first walk into an environment that we're not familiar with. Yusuf attempts to lift a barbell with minimal weights, struggling with all of his effort and only managing a few reps. He glances around, feeling self-conscious as he scans the room and sees other people doing a lot heavier weights effortlessly. Now suddenly a stranger, maybe in his late 20s, his name is Corey, comes up to Yusuf and taps him on the shoulder. Corey had a friendly smile on his face and he says, hey man, I noticed that you're new here. My name is Corey, you mind if I show you a thing or two? Yusuf and Corey start training together. Corey acts as a mentor, guiding Yusuf through all of the training, all the exercises, teaching him the ins and outs of diet and training. Now you can imagine in your head how this story unfolds. You can probably see a montage of Yusuf being in the kitchen, you know, chopping up his meals, prioritizing his protein, eating his vegetables and the right carbohydrates for his body. You can kind of see like this skinny kid in the kitchen just like chopping it up. Maybe you hear like the sizzling of oil, the microwave going off, and you just see this skinny, scrawny 27 pound kid with a goal and a vision in his mind, and that's to train in the gym harder every single day. Yusuf follows closely as to what Corey has been teaching him to a T, and fast forward 10 months. Yusuf goes to the gym and every time challenging his body with each rep mastering new exercises. You can see the sweat dripping off his face like those cool TikTok edits that you see of C-Bump. Finally, at last, over the course of 10 months, Yusuf finally looks at himself in the mirror, realizing that there's no longer a skinny, scrawny kid in front of him. Now that he has some minimal muscle, some muscle that he can be proud of. Yusuf flexes his muscles with a bit of pride and a little bit of disbelief in his eyes, knowing that once upon a time, he was a scrawny kid. He knows he looks really good, but he has so much more left inside of him. Yusuf now confidently approaches the weights, lifting heavier and heavier, slapping on heavier plates on his barbell movements, and he sees a kid in the corner of the gym, Jacob. Someone with a similar look on their face, just as Yusuf had when he walked into the gym 10 months prior. Yusuf walks up to Jacob and says, hey man, I've been in your shoes. You mind if I give you a pointer or two? Jacob has like this really startled look in his face, like, oh my God, there's this muscular guy that came up to me, like, am I in trouble, you know? But he shrugs it off and says, yeah, sure, you can show me a thing or two. You can almost see like Jacob being extremely scared, but at the same time, there's like a sigh of relief in his eyes that he's not alone in this new environment. Yusuf and Jacob, now friends, finish an intense workout together. Shaking hands firmly, Yusuf goes, hey man, remember, it's not all about the physical changes, it's about the mental as well. It's about discovering your inner strength and pushing through the doubts. You've got this. Jacob, with this newfound sensation of like confidence and happiness, she nods and goes, thank you, man. Thank you. Now, growing up, I was never really a strong kid. Yes, I was athletic, like I can run fast and I was able to jump high and I was able to be very explosive, but I was very lanky and skinny. And as I grew older, progressing in my teen years, 13, 14, 15, 16, it kind of stayed the same. You know, I never really was one to put on muscle. I had other friends that were naturally just bigger than me, but I was always like that skinny kid in the friend group. And honestly, even up to now, I still am pretty skinny compared to a majority of my friends. It was the summer of 2018, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I remember it was Ramadan, so I was scrolling through YouTube in my bed at like 3 a.m. And I remember seeing David Lade's transformation video pop up on my feed. And I've known of David Lade maybe when I was younger growing up, and I just looked at him as like this guy who was maybe on steroids of some sort. But I realized him and I are pretty close in age. I think he's like 2-3 years older than me. And I saw his, I think it was his 3-year transformation video. It was his 3-year transformation video that popped up on my feed. And I was like, holy, like this is crazy. This physique is crazy. Let me click on it. So I remember watching his transformation video, and that transformation video maybe is like less than 5 minutes long, but that 5-minute clip was all it took for me to be completely obsessed with the fact that this random white kid, this random skinny white kid can go from being super skinny to absolutely strong, jacked, aesthetic, within the course of a couple of years, you know? So I remember, oh, it was his 1-year transformation video. It was his 1-year transformation video. And the reason why it's so important that I mentioned that there was this 1-year transformation video is because it plays a pretty big motivation in my story. I saw his 1-year transformation video, and it absolutely blew my mind of what was possible when you set your mind to something, you know? So obviously in Ramadan, we are fasting, there's no food, there's no water from sunrise to sundown. So I couldn't really go to the gym, and I didn't really know what the heck a gym was at the time. But what I did do is I just completely binged every single video this man put out. I studied the way he was sleeping and eating, all the caffeine intake that he was taking, what carbohydrates do to the body, proteins and everything. And for an entire month straight, I consumed every bit of content that there probably was, like every bit of valuable content that there was at the time in the fitness industry about how to just gain muscle the most like best way possible. So you guys can just imagine this, like maybe in your heads you can see a time lapse of this kid just being in his room, being in his bed, scrolling through social media, taking down notes, and getting inspired by other fitness gurus, and just really seeing other people's transformations and kind of visualizing myself in their body, or like how I would do it, you know? And it was weird because it was like for the first time in my life, I was looking at people changing their bodies, and I was never insecure about my body. Like I know a lot of people, they go to the gym because they're insecure, or because they, you know, a lot of people just go to the gym because they're insecure and they want to change their body. But for me, I was just like, yo, this is really cool. The fact that you can eat a lot of the right foods and then you can put in the work in the gym and you can become very, very different, you know, over a stretched amount of time. So that was kind of the angle that I was going at. At the end of Ramadan, I was like, there is literally no difference between David Lade and I. If he can do it, why can't I? So when Ramadan ended, it all began. In my head, I was like, okay, my goal is I have to beat David Lade's 1-year transformation video. So I studied him to a T, and I understood exactly what I needed to do. And in only 10 months, literally, I showed you guys, in only 10 months, I would show up to dawats, and I would show up to, you know, events that people haven't seen me over the course of like the winter. And in the summertime, I would show up to events, and literally aunties at dawats and at events would be like, what the heck, this is the same kid? Because in the thumbnail of this video, I literally went from being 5'7" to however tall I am now, like 5'11 and a half, 6 foot, you know? So in 10 months, I gained a lot of weight, gained like the correct weight. I gained 4 inches in my height. My voice got deeper. Everything was just, it was crazy. So I'm gonna run you guys through the day-to-day of what it looked like. I have a whole criteria set over here. Got my MacBook to help me kind of walk you guys through the bullet points. So I'm going to read it to you guys first, then I'm going to go through every single one. I focused heavily on the barbell bench press and barbell squat. I worked up to eating 4,000 calories daily to make sure I was fueling my body appropriately. I remember this was probably the hardest part, was getting in my calories. but I'm going to touch upon that. I trained with a strength-based program, which is linked below, which in my opinion is how everyone should start off, because the more progress you make, the harder it is to keep making progress. This means you make the most progress starting out and it slows down over time. You should try your best to maximize results when you're still a beginner in the gym. This is also important to understand because as a beginner, you should maximize as much effort that you can in the gym, because this is how progress goes. It goes up, it skyrockets as soon as you start working out, and then you're going to hit like a wall, and then from there it's going to be kind of steady because you have to maintain the muscle that you created, and then you're going to have small jumps over time, you know. But for the most part, the first, I would say 6 months to a year and a half is, they call it newbie gains in the fitness industry. I prioritize progressive overload, which means making sure I was pushing my limits with the amount of weight I was working with on a weekly to bi-weekly basis. I'm going to elaborate pushing till failure in coordination with the program volume. And I made sure that I was sleeping at 10:30 every single night. I was razor sharp, like lasered in with this goal that I had. So I remember 10:30 every night. Also, when you're exerting your body that much throughout the day, it's almost inevitable that you want to sleep early and you want to get a good night's rest, because you see the progress so quick when you're a beginner in the gym that you want to just go to sleep, start the day again the next morning and just do it all over again, because you know you're going to be building on top of yesterday's progress. So the program that I ran was mainly focused around the barbell squat and the barbell bench press. I would do it, it was a 3 times a week full body workout routine. Now, this program was really focused towards the barbell bench press and the barbell squat. These are known as like your compound movements. Compound movements are movements in the gym that require you to use more than one body part. So when you're bench pressing, you're using your shoulders, your whole chest, your triceps, right? Compared to just doing a chest isolated muscle. And for the barbell squat, you're using like almost every single muscle in your leg, your quads, your glutes, your hamstrings, your calves, like your back even to hold the weight, you know. So when you do these over a long period of time, it strengthens your body as a whole compared to if you just started off doing isolation work. You could do isolation work. It was still a part of my workout, but I always started off with the bench press and the squat because that's what exerted most of my energy. That's what used most of my energy. I remember when I first started tracking, I can only do the bar on both the barbell, on both bench press and squat. But the week after, I would add 5 pounds or 10 pounds, and that goes into the point of progressive overload. I would really focus on progressive overload. Now, the good thing about really focusing on progressive overload was you can kind of predict where you're going to be. You can kind of predict how strong you're going to be in 3 to 4 weeks, depending on if you stick to your program, right? So I'll give you an example. Say this week I was bench pressing 100 pounds. Right, and I've been successfully adding 5 pounds to my bench press every single week. Now, I know that next week I'm going to be doing 105 pounds, and the week after that I'm going to be doing 110 pounds. So I know in 6 weeks I'll be benching upwards of 160 to 180 pounds, you know, depending on how much progress I make throughout the weeks. That way, it's more motivating because you're on par with like your training. I can't stress enough the importance of form and technique, really understanding the fundamentals of what makes you strong and understanding the fundamentals of like how to breathe properly, how to brace properly. I remember I had a very tough problem on my squat. I kept leaning forward and I realized it's because my torso is a lot smaller than the average human being. I have really long legs, and the way that I fixed that is I just had to position my feet more wider and kind of stuck them out that way, so that when I did squat, it made space for my huge thighs to kind of like, you know, make space for my torso and whatnot. All right, next point. I worked up to eating 4,000 calories daily to make sure I was fueling my body appropriately. Yeah, so when you are just starting out, and if you're super skinny like me, my metabolism was super fast. Whatever I ate, and I was a hard gainer, so whatever I ate, my body just completely burned off, so I really had to push myself to eat. Now, I didn't start off eating 4,000 calories every single day. I think it was like every day I wasn't tracking my macros or anything that way. I was just using MyFitnessPal at the time to see just a rough estimate of the calorie goal. But I knew that I had to be eating a lot of food in order to grow, because it doesn't make sense. How is your body going to grow if you're not like feeding it the right foods, you know? So I would be eating things from, you know, I think that my typical breakfast looked like this. It was 4 eggs, 2 toasts, a bagel and cream cheese. I'd have orange juice, a cup of grapes. So I just had different sources of carbohydrates. I had a bowl of spinach for nitric oxide production, just so that like blood flow in my body is a lot easier. And some blueberries, maybe like an oatmeal, you know what I mean? So you can just tell that was just my breakfast. It was the biggest meal of my day, which was breakfast, because if you're eating a lot of food, it's easier to get it out of the way in the beginning of the day compared to, you know, pushing all of your calories at nighttime, and then when you sleep you kind of feel sluggish. But yeah, I worked up from, I was eating maybe 1,000 calories a day, slowly increasing it, and drinking a lot of water. Because when you drink a lot of water, that helps expand your tummy. It allows your body to consume more food when you're drinking more water. And the only supplements that I was using throughout this entire process was fish oil to make sure that the inflammation in my body was kept at a low level. Fish oil helps, you know, regulate that. I would take 5 milligrams of creatine monohydrate. That helps with water retention in the muscle. So it just makes your muscle more dense and allows you to really push yourself in the gym. And there's studies that shown it's the most studied supplement on earth. So for those of you that are worried about, you know, like your health and whatnot, it doesn't really have that many side effects. I'd recommend you guys not to take my advice, but to do your own research when it comes to supplementation. And then just whey protein, because, you know, eating a lot of meat throughout the day, you can only get in so much. So I would have whey protein, whichever one fits your budget and whichever one fits your taste. You can honestly like just go towards that. But yeah, so those were the only 3 supplements that I was using. The reason why I'm also emphasizing a lot on my water intake is because creatine isn't that effective. I've seen people that said their creatine was a lot more effective when their water intake was a lot higher. It just helps move the creatine throughout your body, essentially, you know? Okay, next point is I trained with a strength-based program. This program was strength-based, so everything outside of the squat and the bench, like we call them accessories, all of the accessories was tied in to make sure that I was increasing my numbers on my squat and my bench. Now, as you guys progress, getting stronger in the gym, you're going to realize that your strong muscles are getting stronger, but a lot of the times your your smaller muscles need a bit more love, right? So for me, because I have such long arms on the bench press, my triceps would give out a lot. So I would be able to, you know, push the weight off my chest, but when it came for my triceps to kind of lock out the movement, I wasn't able to really get it in there. So although you are going to be prioritizing your squat and your bench, you're going to learn very quickly that prioritizing your accessories as well helps a ton when it comes to just getting a well-rounded physique and building a good foundation for your body. The program is only 3 days a week, so that means you're either working out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. Now, as a beginner, I remember you guys, like I was telling you in the beginning of this video, I was so obsessed with beating David Lade's 1-year transformation video. His physique is just incredible, you know, like he's, mashallah, just so genetically gifted, you know, but although I did come close, you know, to gaining a lot of that, I think the biggest thing that I can attribute it to is, yes, the food intake, but also prioritizing the progressive overload, which is, you know, every single week you're adding 5 to 10 pounds in the gym. Now with this program, it's easy for you to progress that quick because you're completely deteriorating your body and your muscles on Monday, and then from Monday night, Tuesday, the entire Tuesday, you have a full 24 hours to recover, and you're not going to work out until Wednesday. You're not going to hit that same workout until Wednesday, you know? So it makes a lot of sense for you to really push yourself on the days that you are working out, because you know the day after that you're going to be resting, you know? I remember when I was doing it, I would completely destroy my body on Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, and on my rest days, I would just be eating a lot of food because I knew that my performance is going to take a hit if I wasn't fueling and resting, like I wasn't recovering properly, you know? So make sure you're getting in your food even in your rest days. Make sure you're sleeping as much as you can, to make sure that, you know, you're making as much progress as you can, because you want to maximize results, you know? If you're putting in your all 3 times a week, you want to make sure you're also putting in your all on the days that you don't go to the gym. The last point of the criteria is pretty self-explanatory. You guys know that sleeping is extremely important for your brain function, for your mental health, for your body to recover. A lot of people think that you make the most progress in the gym, but when you're in the gym, realistically, you're only breaking down the muscle fibers in your body, right? All the work really actually happens outside of the gym. How much are you eating? How much are you sleeping? Are you giving your body the appropriate love and care that it needs in order for it to rebuild itself stronger, you know? So don't be one of those guys that just go in the gym, give it 100%, and then outside of the gym, you know, they don't eat, they don't sleep, and then they expect their bodies to get stronger and to perform even better the day after, you know? So honestly, guys, this program, I'm trying to make it as simple as it can. I'm pretty sure you clicked on this video thinking that you're going to get some secret sauce or some magic pill. There is no magic pill to hard work. There is no secret sauce. It literally boils down to the consistency and a goal-oriented mind that I explained to you guys. This video is all you need to build your dream physique. And the program is very simple but effective. It worked for me, and I'm coaching one of my friends right now. He's like 17 also. No, he's not 17. He just turned 17. Yeah, so he's 17. But he's been running this program since he was 16, and he's making a lot of progress, sending me videos of his squat, and I'm like tweaking his technique and his form, you know, to make sure that he doesn't injure himself and whatnot. But it worked for me. It's how I put all my friends on the program as well. It's worked for them. You guys should think about this. If you do the same thing over and over and over again on a consistent basis, you're eating the same amount, you're sleeping the same amount, you're training the same amount, but the only thing that is changing is you're challenging your body on a weekly to bi-weekly basis of, you know, heavier weights. The volume, the amount of exercise that you do stays the same. It's almost inevitable for you not to make any progress. How can you not? It literally does not make any sense, you know? Now in the program, I give you guys a checklist of things to make sure you're mindful of, so that way you're not missing anything before you start the program. But some things I want to touch upon before I end off the video is that there was a few exercises that really skyrocketed my physique. It was the shoulder dumbbell press, because that really helps give you like well-rounded shoulders. It gives you bolder shoulders. I didn't focus too much on my biceps and my triceps because my main focus was my chest and my back. After I moved on from the barbell squat and the bench press, I was able to, because I already built like a pretty good strength base, I was able to focus more on bodybuilding aspect, which is, you know, growing certain areas of my body that I wanted to for the sake of just looking better, you know? So the shoulder dumbbell press was really good. My lateral raises were good. You guys want to be spamming those. And I would say pull-ups or lat pull-downs was definitely key, because that way you're going to be able to fill out your shirts more, and your back muscles, your back strength directly correlate to how good you're able to contract with your chest as well, and vice versa. You know, when you have a well-developed back, your chest is only going to follow, and vice versa. If you have a well-developed chest, your back is only going to follow. So make sure you're not neglecting any muscle group and you're training your whole physique as one. After you're noticing more progress in your physique, you can start to pick and choose what you want to grow and what you don't want to grow, you know. You're also going to be noticing what your genetic strong suit is. That's like really that's a very fun thing to kind of realize, like what you're genetically strong with, what grows faster, what doesn't grow fast. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, you can either realize that this is day one and you can start tomorrow, or, you know, this could just be another video that you watch on some kid that grew his dream physique and you're not going to take action, you know. But most importantly, you guys should have fun during the entire process. Do not abuse your bodies. Take things at a slow pace and make sure you're doing things correctly. And that way you'll understand that this is a marathon and not a sprint. If you guys watch this far, then I believe in you guys, and I know that you have it in you to completely crush your dream physique. And yeah, I'll see you inside the program.